It was supposed to be just another intense episode of Tucker Carlson tonight. The cameras were rolling, the audience was ready, and I stood backstage, helping coordinate the guests for the network's special segment. But when Keanu Reeves walked, Indies unannounced, dressed in plain clothes, eyes steady and voice calm, everything changed. Tucker didn't expect him. No one did. I watched as the studio crew whispered and scrambled, unsure why a Hollywood legend had stepped into a political battlefield. Tucker smiled, clearly assuming this would be a soft interview, maybe a harmless chat about acting. But when Keanu sat down and said, "Tucker, I'm not here to talk about movies," the entire studio tensed up. I felt it too. Something heavy was about to drop. Then Keanu pulled out a worn folder from his jacket. "I think the American people deserve to hear what's been hidden," he said, placing it on the table. Tucker leaned forward, confused. The audience held their breath. And that's when Keanu opened the file, and the very first line sent shivers down my spine. What secret did Keanu just reveal in front of millions? And why was Tucker's expression already starting to change? As Keanu slowly spread the contents of the folder across Tucker's desk, I watched from the wings, heart pounding, because these weren't just papers. They were declassified files, confidential memos, and photographs that didn't belong in public hands. One image in particular made Tucker's eyes widen. A grainy photo of a man in a suit, unmistakably Barack Obama, shaking hands in a dark hallway with a figure partially blacked out. "Where did you get this?" Tucker asked, his usual sarcastic tone replaced with something close to fear. Keanu didn't answer immediately. Instead, he looked up and said something that chilled the room. "I lost a friend because of what's in here. He worked in the intelligence community. He gave his life to get this out." Suddenly, the studio lights felt hotter. I looked around and saw the producer giving panicked signals to cut to commercial, but Tucker ignored him. He leaned in. "Are you saying the former president was involved in—" Before he could finish, Keanu cut him off. "Don't say it, not yet, let the people see." Then he held up a small USB drive and said, "Everything is in here. Surveillance footage, bank records, and testimonies from people who were silenced, some of them permanently." The tension was unbearable. I glanced at the control room and saw the station director on the phone, probably with legal, but the twist no one expected was what Keanu said next. "Tucker, your name is in these files too." The silence was deafening. Tucker froze, his jaw clenched. "What are you talking about?" he asked, voice trembling. Keanu didn't flinch. "Back in 2010, you interviewed someone you weren't supposed to. He vanished 2 days later. You told people it was nothing, but it wasn't nothing." Tucker suddenly stood up and shouted, "Cut the cameras now." But it was too late. The feed didn't cut. Why? Because I hadn't let it. From the control booth, I made sure the broadcast kept going. The world needed to hear this. And if what Keanu was about to reveal next was true, then everything we thought we knew about power, politics, and betrayal was about to be torn apart. But what exactly did that footage show? And how was I secretly connected to it? The moment I held that worn-out notebook in my hand, I felt a strange weight, not just physical but emotional, as if I had been handed a secret the world wasn't meant to know. Keanu walked off set without a word, leaving Tucker Carlson stunned, staring into the camera with no script and no comeback. The studio was chaos, producers yelling, crew members whispering, and security looking panicked, but my hands were glued to the pages. Inside were names, dates, coded messages, and letters signed by military officials, some who had been declared missing, others who had died in accidents. It detailed covert operations in Africa, arms deals disguised as humanitarian aid, and a horrifying program allegedly approved during Obama's second term that used civilian camps as intel labs. One name appeared over and over: Project Daggerlight. I looked up at Keanu, who had paused at the exit, and gave me a small nod as if to say, "Now you know." Suddenly, a man in a black suit rushed toward me, flashed a fake press badge, and tried to snatch the notebook. Instinct took over. I slipped it under my coat and ran down the side hallway, pushing past two interns. Just before the emergency exit, Keanu appeared again, like he had expected this. "They'll come after you now," he said quietly, placing something cold into my palm. It was a keycard. "This unlocks a storage unit in Nevada. Everything else is there." I stared at him, speechless. "Why me?" I asked. He paused. "Because they'll never see you coming." That's when I realized Keanu had been preparing for this moment for years, and I had just stepped into a war. I barely slept that night. My heart raced every time a car passed by my window, afraid it might stop. Keanu's warning kept repeating in my mind. "They'll come after you now." The notebook was hidden beneath the floorboards, and the keycard was taped under my desk. I couldn't risk losing either. The next morning, I booked a flight to Nevada under a fake name Keanu had helped me create using his underground contacts. As I boarded, I noticed a man in a black leather jacket watching me. He didn't blink, didn't flinch. I changed my seat at the last minute, pretending to get airsick, but he followed. After landing, I rented a dusty old pickup truck from a small family-run lot and drove hours into the desert. The storage unit was tucked behind an abandoned gas station, marked only with a faded number, 1983. I used the keycard. Click. The ice steel doctor creaked open. Inside, I found shelves stacked with boxes labeled Daggerlight, Phoenix Protocol, and black tape. But what stopped me cold was the center table, covered in photographs of Barack Obama shaking hands with figures tied to foreign warlords, surveillance footage of secret midnight meetings, and shockingly, emails between high-ranking officials and a well-known Hollywood director, one who had recently vanished. Suddenly my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I picked up, and a chilling voice whispered, "You have 24 hours to return what's ours, or you'll end up like him." They sent a photo. It was the director, gagged and unconscious, held at gunpoint. I stared in horror, realizing I wasn't just uncovering political corruption. I was now a threat to an international syndicate hiding behind governments, fame, and media. And the only person I could trust was Keanu Reeves. I knew I couldn't run anymore. This was bigger than politics, bigger than Hollywood. I needed answers. I drove straight through the night to a remote safe house Keanu had told me about during one of our earlier meetings. It was buried deep in the forest, surrounded by nothing but trees, old watchtowers, and silence. As I pulled in, Keanu was already there, waiting by the fire pit with a map spread across a wooden table. He looked up, his face serious, like he already knew what I had seen in that storage unit. "You saw the files?" he asked without looking up. I nodded, my hands still shaking. "This goes back to before Obama was even elected. They've used entertainment as a weapon. Celebrities, fake movements, manufactured crises. It's all distraction while they sell influence to the highest bidder." Keanu pointed to the name Daggerlight on the map. "It's not just a file name, it's a base, underground, top-level clearance only. Obama was never alone in this. It involves former presidents, world leaders, and even people close to Trump." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Then Keanu threw me a USB drive. "This has video proof, but we can't release it yet. They'll destroy it and kill us before it even uploads. We need someone inside to leak it at the right time." I asked, "Who can we trust?" He looked me dead in the eyes and said, "Melania." I blinked, stunned. "Trump's wife?" He nodded. "She knows more than she lets on, and she's not on their side. If we can get this to her, it'll be the biggest takedown in history." But before I could react, the cabin lights cut out. Total darkness. Then a laser sight flicked across Keanu's chest. He didn't flinch. "They found us," he whispered. "Stay down." Then, bam! The window shattered as the first shot was fired. Glass flew through the air as bullets tore into the cabin, splintering the wooden walls like paper. I dove behind the fireplace as Keanu rolled across the floor, grabbing a hidden Glock from beneath a loose floorboard. "Stay down!" he barked, and fired 3 quick shots toward the tree line. Silence fell again, but only for a second. Then came a voice through a megaphone outside. "Keanu Reeves, surrender now. You're interfering with national stability. This is your final warning." Keanu's face darkened. "That voice," he growled. "That's Henry Raskin, CIA Shadow Unit. Worked under Obama, disappeared 2 years ago. If he's here, they've activated full protocol." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "So they'll kill you and blame it on mental illness?" I asked. Keanu nodded grimly. "Just like they did with others who tried exposing this." I pulled out the USB he had given me. "We need to protect this. If we die, the truth dies too." But Keanu had a plan. He opened a steel panel in the floor, revealing a tunnel. "Go, I'll hold them off." I shook my head. "I'm not leaving you." He looked me in the eye. "You have to. If I don't make it, find Melania. She knows the safe drop point. Give her the drive and she'll know what to do." I knew. He was right. As I climbed into the tunnel, Keanu placed a hand on my shoulder. "One more thing," he said. "If they capture me, they'll use a fake video to destroy my image. Don't believe anything unless you see it from me. Promise me that." I promised. And then I was crawling through darkness as gunfire erupted behind me. I didn't look. Back, not yet. But what I didn't know was that someone else had entered the tunnel from the far end. Someone I never expected. As I crawled through the tight underground tunnel, heart pounding and dirt sticking to my skin, I suddenly saw a flicker of light up ahead, but it wasn't sunlight. It was the pale glow of a flashlight, and the silhouette holding it made my blood freeze. "You?" I gasped, stunned. It was Secret Service Agent Nolan, assigned to Melania during Trump's presidency. But he was supposed to be dead. Killed. In a car bombing 2 years ago in D.C. "Shh," he whispered, motioning me to follow. Keanu was right. They activated Operation Eclipse. If we don't move now, they'll bury this whole country in lies. We raced through the tunnel until it opened into an abandoned subway shaft where Nolan pulled out a tattered map and pointed to a red mark. "This is your destination, an old military radio tower outside Langley. Melania is already on her way and she's not alone." I wanted to ask more, but a violent explosion rocked the tunnel behind us. Keanu's hideout had been blown up. I couldn't breathe. "Is he?" I stammered, but Nolan shook his head. "He planned this. He might be captured, but not dead. And he left one last message for you." Nolan handed me a crumpled piece of paper. It read, "They'll come for your soul first. Don't let fear rewrite your truth. Trust the voice, not the volume." I didn't understand it at first, but when we reached the tower, something terrifying became clear. News was already spreading that Keanu had gone rogue, attacked federal agents, and escaped into the woods. The media was twisting everything within minutes. "They prepared this long ago," Nolan said. "They've created a fake Keanu, a digital puppet. The real one is now their prisoner, or worse." And just then, the emergency radio in the tower crackled to life. A voice whispered through the static, faint but unmistakable. "This is Keanu. They're planning something for the 4th of July. Bigger than anything since '63. Get to Melania. And whatever you do, don't trust the president." I looked at Nolan, stunned. "Which president?" His eyes narrowed. "That's the question, isn't it?" I stared at Nolan, my hands trembling as Keanu's warning echoed in my head. Don't trust the president. But which one? Trump had vanished 2 days ago, reportedly for private meetings, while Obama was still rumored to be pulling strings through an underground network. And now I was standing in a forgotten military tower with a man who'd faked his death, a former First Lady racing toward us, and the world being spoon-fed lies about Keanu's so-called rebellion. Nolan pulled out a laptop and typed furiously. Within seconds, grainy footage loaded. Secret surveillance from inside a heavily guarded compound. I leaned in closer, and my stomach dropped. Keanu was strapped to a chair, surrounded by masked men in suits. One of them stepped forward, and when he spoke, my heart stopped. It was Obama, but not the calm, composed leader the world remembered. This man's voice was cold, calculated, stripped of warmth. Erase his memory, upload the new script, By next week, Keanu will be delivering our speech on global reform. Nolan slammed the laptop shut. They're creating a clone, an AI-driven shell, designed to stand with their agenda, not against it, and the world won't even know the difference. I was shaking now. What do we do? Nolan opened a metal locker in the corner of the tower, revealing a dusty hard drive labeled Project Elysium. Keanu gave us this before he was taken. It's everything: videos, documents, even old CIA transcripts, enough to shake the world awake. Just then, the tower lights flickered and Nolan grabbed his gun. They found us. Get to the rooftop. I'll hold them off. As I ran up the rusted stairs, every step felt heavier than the last. Thunder rolled across the sky and helicopters buzzed in the distance. I burst onto the rooftop, and there she was, Melania. Drenched in rain, holding a briefcase and a satellite phone, she looked right at me and said, "They think I'm just a wife, but I'm the one who helped Keanu hide the first file." My mouth dropped open, but before I could reply, a red sniper dot danced across her chest, and we both froze. Before I could scream, Melania yanked me down behind the rooftop water tank, and the bullet missed her heart by inches, shattering the metal railing instead. "They're not just after Keanu," she whispered. "They're erasing anyone who knows the truth." The briefcase clutched in her hand was already leaking water, but she didn't care. Inside was a single drive protected in a steel shell, marked, with the same name Nolan had shown me earlier, Project Elysium. She shoved it into my jacket. "Get this to Zurich. There's only one safe server left that they don't control." My heart was racing. "But what about Keanu? He's still alive and still fighting," she said. "But if they wipe him now, the version the world sees next will kneel to their plans. We're running out of time." Below us, Nolan opened fire, holding off a SWAT team storming the tower. I heard him yell, "Go!" before an explosion rocked the foundation. I didn't have time to cry. Melania dragged me to a rope ladder on the far side, and we slid down the wall into a narrow alley where an unmarked car was waiting. Inside sat a man with a gray beard and dark glasses. "Get in if you still want Keanu to live," he growled. As we drove through a maze of back roads, the man revealed his name. Colonel Mason, ex-intelligence, discharged dishonorably for refusing to take part in a psychological reprogramming project. Keanu tried to stop it. They silenced him. Now they're after anyone who stands in the way. I clutched the drive like it was my last breath. Then Mason glanced in the rearview mirror and said the words that chilled my blood. "You've got 5 hours before they release the new Keanu at a live broadcast. And if that happens, truth dies forever." I looked at Melania, whose eyes were already filled with tears. "Then we stop it," I said. But none of us were ready for what was waiting in Zurich. The Zurich server room was hidden beneath an old church, protected by biometric locks and a vault door 2 feet thick. As we entered, Mason handed me a gun and said, "Once we upload this, they'll come. Be ready." My hands were shaking, but I nodded. Melania placed the drive into the console, and as the transfer began, the lights flickered. Someone was already breaching the system. On the monitor, a distorted face appeared. It was President Obama, but not as we knew him. His voice was metallic, robotic, twisted. "You think you're revealing secrets?" we hissed. "You're only showing them what they're programmed to forget." Suddenly, Mason shouted, "We've been traced." Just then, a hidden panel burst open, and Keanu Reeves stumbled in, bloodied, but alive. "They tried to replace me," he said, "but I broke the program. I remembered who I was when I saw your face." He looked at me, his eyes burning with emotion. "You're the only reason I kept fighting." Gunfire erupted outside the church as black SUVs screeched to a halt. Melania slammed the server shut. "Upload complete." "It's done," she whispered. "The world will know." Keanu stood tall, staring at the entrance, then turned to me. "Whatever happens now, thank you." The door exploded open and everything went white. When I woke up, I was in a hospital bed. Keanu was by my side holding my hand. "They failed," He smiled. The truth is out. You did it. Tears streamed down my face. Melania survived. Mason vanished. But the footage we uploaded reached every news network in the world. What Keanu exposed about Project Elysium, the manipulation, the mind control, the rewritten realities, it shook the globe. Governments collapsed, secrets burned, and people finally saw the real Keanu Reeves, not just a movie star, but the man who risked everything to save truth. Please subscribe channel for Keanu Reeves. Respect, thanks.